Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room. And today is the day. It's Diaz Day, Adam. And we are here and live to discuss the official announcement of him signing. Now, it all broke out on Friday. Everyone was going crazy on Twitter. Everyone thought it'd be announced. But now it is finally announced on the official Liverpool channels. Mate, how are you feeling?
Do you know what? It's crazy. I think I was supposed in shock as like anyone was when it was first kind of the rumors started coming through, and we knew he was obviously on the radar for a while, especially during January and during last summer as well. And kind of I suppose everyone waking up on Thursday morning and seeing a lot of tweets that we were in for him was came with a bit of a surprise. I think it's more of a shock than anything that like for the fee that I suppose it works out well in terms of the fee, but to kind of go in for a player with that price tag in January when we didn't expect to sign anyone is absolutely mental. But for a player of his caliber as well, it's even a bigger surprise. So look, I mean, overjoyed as we all are, like anyone is. We really needed reinforcements. I think we knew that going into this season, and we didn't probably get all that we wanted in the summer. So it's great to go into the second half of the season with such a talented player and such a great signing. And it's going to be not only a massive boost for fans, but a massive boost for the squad as well.
Absolutely. You've just said like it comes as a surprise to me, Adam, that if we were gonna had the plan to sign Diaz, which I don't think we did this January, if I'm being brutally honest,
Yeah.
then I think if we had my theory on it, if we had a plan to sign him, we'd have signed him at the start. Well, obviously with AFCON, but I think Tottenham were the ones that pushed our hand a little bit because I think he was a long-term target for the summer. And then obviously they went in, and Liverpool did not want to see him go to a rival.
Yeah, it's funny the way it works out. I think once kind of clubs are dipping their toe in, I think that really kind of puts a jolt into other clubs that are really interested. And I know, as you said, we probably weren't expecting to go in for him this January. I think the plan was, from everything we've read since the kind of move for him in the last few days, that it was the plan to go in for him this summer coming. But as you said, I think when you see kind of other clubs on the horizon, it worked out well in the end. You know, I think it was a good thing that Spurs obviously were going to go in for him. Unfortunately for Spurs, I suppose, for their side of things. But yeah, it look at, as I said, it kind of worked out for the best, and I think it's great. As much as, and I'm kind of on this side a bit, as much as a lot of fans have kind of been unhappy with FSG in the last year with everything that's gone on, and not just in terms of financially and making moves for players, but obviously everything externally as well. I think it really shows good initiative by the club, I think, to kind of move as quickly as possible to get Diaz in when we see another club going. But again, I think it shows how massive we are, because Diaz was the player himself who said, "I want to move to Liverpool." You know, I think a lot of the move to Spurs falling apart was a lot from the player side. As we've read, that he didn't want to go to Spurs, and Liverpool's the club he wanted to go to. So it would have been interesting to see how that turned out. But no, as I said, Spurs going in from, I think we owe Spurs a massive thank you in this case.
Absolutely. No, never did we think we'd be saying that this January. But yeah, Diaz comes in, takes the number 23 shirt, it is believed. Last man to wear that, obviously usurping the great Emre Can. And obviously before that, Carragher. I mean, also been talk have been the futures of Milner and potentially Mane as well. Do you see him moving away from the 23 when he gets the chance to maybe take a 7 or a 10?
I think the initial hope for a lot of fans that he was going to be getting the 7, and that Milner would graciously give up the 7 with a few months to go. I don't think obviously that's going to happen, but I think it looks more likely that it probably will be the 7th that he's taken. I think we've seen now Milner has plans to move on at the end of the season when his contract expires. The Mane situation is still up in the air. I know a lot of fans have talked and said that this move has maybe a bit of an indicator that Mane might move on at the end of the season. And we know that he's currently in contract talks also. So yeah, we'll see. That'll be more interesting, but I suppose at the moment it looks more likely, given the words from Milner himself, that it'll probably be the number 7 if he is getting another number anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's all up in the air. I mean, our next game now, Adam, is against Cardiff in the FA Cup 4th round. Do you expect to see Diaz to get any sort of featuring in that, or do you think he'll be saved and rested up for the future?
I think it's quite possible we could see him against Cardiff. I mean, when we signed Van Dijk, I think his first game was against Everton in the FA Cup, in which he scored a goal in his debut. So, and I think it wasn't too long before that we had signed him. Now, I know it's a different situation. Van Dijk was already playing in England. He was already fit. Like, it wasn't like there was going to be a massive transition there. But I think, I think Klopp would probably prefer to get players in and have a lot more time with players. I think that's why we really prefer the summer transfer window under Klopp the last few seasons. He wants more time in pre-season, but I think, he'll probably want to hit the ground running with Diaz, and kind of, there's no better game to put him in there than an FA Cup tie against a team who we obviously have a very good chance of beating in this case. But yeah, it would be great to see him playing in that game, and I would give it a very good percentage that we're going to see him, even for half an hour.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke to Proxima Jornada the other day, an interview on the channel, which you guys can go and check out. Portuguese football expert, so told us all about Diaz and his temperament, and the fact he said that he was a very determined grafter made me think this man is perfect for Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the signings that we've made under Klopp, it's never, especially attacking signings, it's never just about obviously the talent and skill and kind of what the players like going forward. It's very much the whole package of being able to attack and score goals and assists, but also being able to help the team out and press from the back when it needs to be done, and help out the defence and help out the full backs. And I don't think Klopp would have went in for a player like Diaz unless he kind of seen some of those attributes within him. So the fact that he is that kind of player, I think, like I said, it means that he may hit the ground running immediately with us if he's already that type of player. And hopefully that is the way. And we know you mentioned his temperament there as well. And I think you always need players like that in every team. I think you always, there's a big difference between a player who's going out and kind of, well, I don't want to drag Arsenal into it, but obviously their red card record, recently, there's a difference between kind of being foolish in challenges and a player who's very kind of tenacious, and very similar to Mane in that sense. We know Mane is very like that as well. He is very kind of tenacious when it comes to being aggressive on the ball. So I think it's a perfect like for like. Whether Mane was at the top of his game and whether Diaz is going to challenge him, whatever way that's going to work out, I think it's the perfect kind of replacement when Mane isn't there, or if Diaz is going to now go into that role eventually.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on from that, I mean, going into the rest of the season, how much of a boost do you think it will give the entire squad? Because I think, some of these players, they know each other inside out, and there can be a lack of maybe an injection of energy, but when you've got a player like Diaz coming in who is unpredictable, who fits in with it, I think it is just going to give a real energy boost to the players.
It's going to be absolutely massive. I like, we don't ever hear about this, but transfers, when it comes to like signing players, it's not just obviously a massive thing for fans and for the club. Like, it is a boost for the squad. I think if you're in the Liverpool squad and you're kind of looking at the situation at the moment, and City have kind of drifted off at the top of the league, and we're in it, like, obviously with the current options we have in the squad and a lot of injuries, I think players will have that kind of, that, like, these thoughts of doubt in their head that, like, it's going to be more difficult as the season goes along. So always bringing a player in, especially a player as talented as Diaz, is going to be a massive lift for the players, and a massive lift for the players up front, because I think it takes a lot of pressure off the players that we have up front. And I think, it could be a great thing for Mane. I think it could be a great thing for Mane to take some pressure off him and not necessarily rest for a while, but to kind of take a step back and maybe kind of get some time where he's not kind of constantly first choice, and yeah, it gives him time to reassess, and it'll probably make him hungrier. And the fact that he's obviously in the AFCON quarterfinals now already, he's not going to be coming back to Liverpool totally fit. So I think this is obviously a move that's coming at the perfect time in terms of putting a player straight in there that can be a great replacement for Mane at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Get all your comments in the comment section. We really want to interact with you guys. And if you aren't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. We've got a real boost from this Diaz deal. I mean, before this, the only transfers that we'd experienced are Konate, Kabak, and Ben Davis as a channel. So we've got a nice, fresh little attacking side, and really, really exciting. And I'm so excited to see him in a Liverpool shirt. I mean, I spoke with Proxima Jonada about this on the other day as well, Adam. How quickly do you think he will settle in? Because there's usually a grace period with Liverpool's new signings. There's some exceptions, obviously, Van Dijk being one, Mane being another, and Salah being another. But even some of our best players like Fabinho and Robertson, they took a little while to settle into the way Jurgen Klopp will play.
Well, I think with the situation at the moment with AFCON and players coming back, I think it's a case of not necessarily kind of throw them in the deep end, but it is going to be a case of where I think Klopp may take more of a risk and may kind of put him in there, not necessarily immediately every single game, but I think you're going to see him get a lot of minutes very early on. I mean, he's obviously an incredibly fit guy. We know that. He's a young guy. Has incredible stats with Porto this season. So as I said, it's not like he's coming off an injury. It's not like he's transitioning from a different league. Of course, it's going into a different system. But I don't see any reason why Jurgen Klopp won't take the risk and immediately kind of put him in there and try and get him hit the ground running. And I do see him making an impact. I think we don't buy players. And as you mentioned, I think Mane and Salah is a perfect example of players who we've bought to play up front and have immediately hit the ground running. I think Diaz is going to be no exception to that. I think it will be the same. I mean, if we can get like 7 goals from this guy between now and the end of the season, it would be great. You know, like that for me is a number for a guy coming into a new league in a new system will be a great start for him. So I don't expect anything different than a good couple of weeks anyway, starting off.
Yeah, I mean, these are the quotes from Jurgen Klopp on the LFC website. I could not be happier that we've been able to get this deal done and bring Luis to Liverpool. I have always been a believer in only signing players in January if you would want to sign them in the summer, and that's very much the case. He's an outstanding player and someone we've been tracking for a very long time. We believe he has everything needed to fit in our way and adapt to the Premier League, both physically and mentally. He's a player who's hungry for success and knows you have to fight for what you want. He's a fighter. He's a skillful team player who always has the goal in mind. The team deserved to add quality when we played against Luis this season. We saw what a danger he is, how fast he is, and how mentality helped his team. We know how Porto is an outstanding club who nurture players in the best possible way and provide a brilliant football education. I mean, that says it all for me, mate. A fighter. He's obviously played respect to Porto as a club. I'm sure Jurgen was probably one of the main people pushing for this signing.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned there, what Jurgen said about only getting players in January, if you really believe you're going to want to go from in the summer, I think that's a massive case here. And as we mentioned earlier on, I think obviously Spurs being interested was a massive part of that. But as you said, I think when it comes to players that Jurgen Klopp has signed, it's players that are not just kind of popping up on the radar out of nowhere. It's players that we scout extensively for a long period of time, and I think we have to give massive credit for the scouting team for that, and the likes of Michael Edwards and Julian Ward for the work that they've done on this transfer. And I correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've been scouting Diaz even before Porto, so that just goes to show you the work that's being put in to make sure that we get the guys that perfectly suit that system. And like we haven't really made a terribly bad signing under Jurgen Klopp that I can think of. I mean, I think there's obviously players that don't really click that well. I mean, we've chatted obviously about the likes of Minamino and stuff. There's players that just don't acclimatize very well to the Premier League. that could change for him. He could move on elsewhere in the Premier League. It could be different, but there hasn't really been a signing that you could look at that we signed and said they haven't played some part in the success that we've had over the years. Unless they're a player that's literally coming in and we're winning the league 5 minutes later, that's a different situation. But I think we've incredible scouts. We're always scouting the right players, the right attitude, players that can perfectly suit our system, and it's no different here. And we have to kind of take Klopp at his word of how much he loves this player and believes that he's going to be a massive asset to us.
Yeah, I mean, there's a question here from Stephen. Who do you think will be sold? I mean, we are used to this this system where one player comes in, one player goes out. For me, I don't want Mane to leave, if I'm being brutally honest, because I think the front 5 players we have there can rotate and interchange. But I think for maybe his own temperament and mentality, Mane would probably want to leave after Diaz's arrival.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think it will be a case of Liverpool necessarily showing Mane the door. I think it will be the player himself he wouldn't want to be a player who is in a system where he's rotating with someone else who's starting over him. I think, as you said, it's the temperament, it's the attitude of the player himself. I know Roberto Firmino has obviously been incredible in his kind of approach and his attitude in terms of when Diogo Jota was essentially put in there as our kind of main starting player in the middle. And, Roberto, Firmino's been incredibly professional about it. He's gone in and he's done a job anytime he's been called for. So, I wouldn't like to see Mane go, as yourself. I think if we are going to see players being sold even before Monday, which is, I suppose, maybe looking unlikely, I think it could be the likes of Nat Phillips, who we know for a long time has been looking for a move, and possibly as the comments say, Origi and Minamino. But with such a short time period now with the transfer window open, it's hard to tell if that's going to happen. But if it's not now, it's definitely going to be in the summer. I do think players like this are going to be moved on. But I agree with you. Hopefully, it's not Mane.
Yeah, I agree with your comment, but I do think it's mostly going to be the players' side, rather than the Liverpool side, because Mane will want to be the main man, and you can even see some of the frustration with them. With Salah there, he knows that he's not the main man anymore, and he won't get paid anywhere near what Salah is. And as the transfer account says, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. We've got so much new content coming up. We've got a transfer deadline day. It's actually our first anniversary very, very soon of the channel, which has been incredible. But we've got videos on Fabio Carvalho, Christopher Nkunku, and even more Diaz content as well. As podcasts and more videos. We've got so much going up. We can't stop producing this content, so make sure you check it out. In terms of this, Adam, is this one of 2 new forwards that we need? I mean, I'm not sure whether. I think it depends on whether Mane leaves or not, but I do still think we probably need one more right-sided forward to provide competition for Salah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think we're finished providing fullback or providing backup in the front up top area.
By the way, sorry, mate. James Pearce deleted his tweet that it was going to get announced on Monday. Wow. Oh, James, what's going on there? But no, I'm sorry, mate. Carry on.
Sorry. It's unfortunate for James. No, yeah, I definitely agree. I do think we need competition for Salah also. I think if we could, it would be fantastic if Mane stayed and we had that competition there between him and Diaz, and then we had competition between Firmino and Jota, and then Salah and another player that comes in. I think it would be a shame if we didn't get that, because I think all of the top teams seem to kind of have some sort of backup to come in and provide that backup. So
yeah,
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure if we make that move, because we obviously are looking into the midfield area as well. So it all depends of how we're looking to spend and what we can offload. As you mentioned earlier on, how how our system works when it comes to buying and selling. So it would be great to get a backup in for Salah, and especially if we are moving on the likes of Origi and Amino. I mean, someone has to come in. It can't just be a case of let's rely on Kay Goran or let's rely on Harvey Elliott to play two positions. We will need further reinforcements. And as one of the guys said, looking at players like Rafinha and players like that, I think these are more options that we have to consider. I do think players like that might be more difficult to acquire now, because there's one thing bringing in a player like Diaz, but I don't think we should really be constantly looking for 60 million backups or 60 million players that are, the assumption with Diaz at the moment is that he probably will move into that role full time going forward. Even if it will start off as competition, but it's unlikely that we're going to get a player that's going to really challenge Salah for a spot, as we know how good Salah is at the moment.
I think, as Nath, I apologise if my connection goes a bit weird. But Nath says here, what about the midfield? I think the midfield is the next position where we need a starter coming in. Lots of people have been talking about Bellingham. There's loads of others as well. I mean, there's got to be. I think that is. I don't know if you agree, mate. That is the next area we need to look at.
No, 100%. I do agree. I know, as we said, we need kind of further options up front, but I think the midfield definitely is the next primary area that needs to be targeted. We know the likes of Milner are moving on. We know Jordan Henderson, Thiago are obviously at an age now where they're getting older. It's more difficult for them to play the system that we have, and our kind of transfer policy and our method of transfer is always targeting younger players. So I don't think that's going to be any different for the midfield. Obviously, Fabinho is still very young. Harvey Elliott is unfortunately got injured, but looked like he was going to have a massive debut season. And hopefully he's able to kick on there the second half of the season and show what he can do. But I definitely think I 100% agree. If we are going to buy a midfield player, it has to be a player that's going to be going straight in there. I don't think it's going to be Jude Bellingham, because I think it all depends on what FSG are going to do in the summer, if they're willing to break the bank for further players. But 90 million at the moment is kind of a very kind of high price for a lot of teams, But I think from what we've heard, he seems interested in going to Liverpool. He's a great admirer of Liverpool, so we'll see. But if it's not Bellingham, it definitely has to be someone else. It all depends what kind of area we're targeting. Do we want another player similar to Jordan Henderson, or do we want another player similar to Thiago?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our midfield options now, Milner's going in the summer. Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain are out of contract in 2023. Then you got Thiago and Henderson who are getting on. Fabinho is pretty much solid for the next 5 years in its position, I think. You have to go and find someone who's 23, 24, who can play alongside the likes of Elliott and Jones for the future. I don't think that both Ox and Keita will stay. Personally, I think only one of them will, or both of them will go. So yeah, it's as I've mentioned on a couple of streams, it's going to be a real couple of summers of change. I know a lot of people have been saying that, it's FSG, they won't sign players. They're going to have to at the end of the day, because we won't have any players left by the end of it, Yeah. But hopefully the likes of Morton, Elliott, and Jones can save us a few quid as well. That would be nice. But moving on, I mean, let's go through a couple of your suggestions. Who do you think that Liverpool should sign next? What position? What player? Who should it be? And make it realistic. I mean, one player that we've already covered is Aurélien Tchouameni. His stats, Adam, are ridiculous, and we know it's Liga, but he looks like a perfect kind of destroyer for this Liverpool team. Yeah,
and massively different in terms of price as well between himself and Bellingham. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at. Liverpool are always going to go with the kind of smartest option in terms of a player who has incredible stats, as you mentioned, but also a player who we can get for a realistic price. And between them, I would love. I mean, Bellingham would be my first choice, but as you said, being realistic, it will be difficult to kind of get him in there just with his price tag and the fact that he probably won't be the only player we will be signing in the summer. So when you kind of add all those things up together, are we going to spend 200 million on players on top of what we've already spent in January, it looks fairly unlikely. But yeah, I mean, he would be my top choice. I just don't know if it's going to happen. But we see it's strange. We seem to be the most likely club at the moment to sign him.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? There's literally no other noise apart from Liverpool. I guess it's kind of like he sort of at the England camps he seems to gravitate towards Henderson.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the reason, but I genuinely couldn't tell you why. Another one that has been mentioned is Yuri Tielemans. His contract runs out in 2023. Pretty inconsistent this season, I will say that, but he constantly proves his talent over and over, and he's still 24, 25, perfect age gap for Liverpool.
Yeah, as you said, he's obviously been inconsistent this season. I think last season he really showed what he could do, and I think a lot of people were expecting us to go in for him last summer, and that didn't happen. Because of his form this season, maybe that might put that up in the air now. I know there's been a few reports going around that he still is someone that we're going to be targeting this summer. I agree, though. I think he's definitely a player that would suit Liverpool. It just depends on the price tag. I mean, I know there was talk of Leicester wanting 60 million last summer. Based on this season, I think Liverpool are not going to go out and pay 60 million for Tielemans. We paid 45 million for Fabinho. And I don't see him as any better than Fabinho was when we purchased him at that time. So I don't really see why we should be giving in and paying 60, 70 million for a guy who hasn't had the best of seasons. I think it is only one season, but it definitely devalues him. So it would be great to get him in, but for a reasonable price.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm going to go back on the Diaz train now because we went slightly off piste. How much do you think he'll impact in the Champions League? Because rotation and unpredictability is something that you genuinely need in the Champions League. And we got Inter Milan first, who were no easy task in the last 16. Do you think Diaz offers Liverpool a better chance of winning the Champions League this season?
Yeah, of course, because he's not only a talented player and a player with incredible stats for Porto, but he's played in the Champions League. He has that experience, and I think that's massive when you buy a player who already has that Champions League experience. And obviously we know Porto kind of the last couple of years haven't been fortunate. Unfortunately, we always seem to put them to the sword, and now we're taking their best man. So I could understand if they didn't like us very much. But yeah, I think it's hugely important to have a guy who's already played Champions League football, and especially this season. So teams have played against him. There are going to be teams that fear him and know what he can do. We've seen him play against Manchester City in both legs where he had fantastic games and scored as well, of course, that incredible goal. So it is going to be a huge boost. And as you mentioned, with rotation and all, it's going to be massively important because when it comes to the likes of the League Cup, the FA Cup, we've seen that it is possible to get by with the current squad that we have. The Champions League is a different ball game, though. I know we had done it in the past with in games like Barcelona, but they're very special one-off games that we're not going to see very often in our lifetime. So when it comes from year to year in the Champions League, it is hugely important to have a really kind of tight squad that can come in for each other and really do as good as the guy that's coming out. And we don't know what Mane is going to be coming back from AFCON. Mane's had a good season, I think, this season compared to last, but there still are times where he does look tired and he does look like he could use a break or use that fire in him. And I think the Diaz sign is gonna light a fire under him. But as you said, when it comes to the Champions League now that we're at the big stages now, it's massively important that we have someone else in there that can be providing the goals on top of what Salah and Jota can do.
Yeah, unreal. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you so much for that. If you aren't already, there's 60 of you in the chat, and there has been for so long, so we'll just keep going because we do love having all of you guys here. Make sure you are subscribed to see more of myself and Adam and everyone associated with the channel. It's been good fun over this transfer window. We've got more content coming out with you tomorrow, maybe even later today with Carvalho and a video on Christopher and Kunku as well. So make sure you check that out, like in-depth analysis, stuff that you will really, really want to see. It's been a window where we expected nothing, Adam. It sort of makes you happy now that we've actually got something over the line, because we went into it so pessimistically. I was willing to put my house on saying we wouldn't sign anyone, but we have, and it just makes you smile, doesn't it, mate? It's nothing like a transfer.
Do you know what? It seems to be the January transfer window where we never expect to buy anyone, and we've bought some of our best players in the last 20 years in January. So it's crazy, and I think we always have the fans with kind of hearts in our mouths when it comes to January transfers, because it's no, we're not signing anyone then, and nowhere it happens. So, like I said at the start of the video, I think to happen at a time where we really needed reinforcements and a lot of fans were really crying out for that boost. I can't remember the last time I was this happy over a transfer.
Yeah, it's unreal. Yeah. And on a final point, mate, Luis Diaz, and I know it's very premature to say this. Does he play well for Liverpool? Is he the right fit?
I think so. I really have confidence. Like I say, from experience of other players Klopp has bought and players that play up front for us, I expect him to really hit the ground running. I don't expect him to go out and be hitting 20 goals between now and the end of the season. If he was to do that, obviously incredible. But to even just give us that massive boost in terms of being an all-around player for the team, and then adding goals to that on top of that as well, and just slotting in quickly, would be amazing, and really give us a massive boost before the end of the season. I'm not sure if he can play in the League Cup final. I don't think he can he? Or
I think he probably can, because we didn't sign him from an English team.
Yeah,
so maybe I'm pretty sure he can.
Yeah, but yeah, like I mean, even something like that. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen between now and then. So I mean, even to have him going into a final like that would be absolutely massive. So I'm going to put my money on it now. We win the League Cup final and Diaz scored a winner.
We love that. Well, thank you so much to everyone in the comments, and for all of us. We're all buzzing. Luis Diaz is a Liverpool player wearing the number 23, and he'll probably, and I will say probably, make his debut in a week's time against Cardiff City. But from myself and from Adam, thank you so much to Adam for joining us.
Thanks,
we
mate.
will see you soon, and make sure to check out all the Diaz, Carvalho, and Kunku content very, very shortly.